Yo, 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 welcome to another edition of the Geeky Bros Podcast. I'm your boy Tactics.
And this is Big Geek Umar. How you doing today, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm a little on the tired side, but nonetheless, I am still good. We alive. A lot to be grateful for. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing well. As you all can see, I've had to shave my seasonal beard as I am currently speaking to you guys all from Colombia, just in a guest room. Hence why not having my usual bright light in my face, showing how beautiful I am. But I am glad that I'm still able to partake, and hopefully, we will also next week get our bro Darcy back, and the Geeky Bros will be united once again.
Actually, I won't be here next week.
I thought you were gonna say that.
I know. You know me too well, man. You know me too well. Tried to get one
Well,
over on you. Oh, well.
but nonetheless, we are still a go. The show must go on, and so T, shall we jump into our first topic?
Let's do it.
All right. So there was a slew of geeky news that came out this past week. So much so that it feels like pre-SAG after a strike, because we've gotten kind of used to not having a lot of news come down the pipeline. But it was nice to get some like proper geeky news for a change. Two sets. We're gonna put it under one umbrella, the Star Wars umbrella. We got two bits of Star Wars updates. The first being that the Mandalorian TV series, while yes, the season 4 is still planned to go ahead, they're also planning to do a movie with the Mandalorian and Grogu. So that is currently has like going into production this year, with the understanding that season 4 will also happen. I thought it was going to be one or the other, to be honest. I didn't expect it to be both. But I'm kind of interested to what you think, T. Like, 'cause we haven't gotten any news outside of that. All we've gotten is that the announcement. But T, I was just wondering, thoughts on would you go see? I know you're not a huge Star Wars fan, but you have watched the first couple seasons of Mandalorian.
I have.
Would would you go see the movie?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I just don't know if it's necessary per se. I mean, like we have the TV series and it's been doing great so far. So it's like, why do a movie also?
Hmm.
I don't know. But that, I mean, that's just me. I'm probably not the best guy to ask this question. Like you said, I'm not a Star Wars fan. Like if you asked me if this is a question regarding like Batman and it's just like, oh, do you want to see a TV series and a movie? I'm like, oh yeah, 100% yes. So I guess there's some bias in that to some extent, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been enjoying the TV series. I don't think I've watched the latest season in its
Hmm.
entirety yet, so I have to go back and well, actually, I can't because I don't have Disney Plus. So, um,
They probably have a free trial coming up soon.
possibly, yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, I guess I would check it out. I mean, Mandalorian, the TV series, gave me enough to keep and pique my interest. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure the movie will probably do the same. Now, is this a Mandalorian and Grogu series together,
Uh,
or are these
yes.
separate?
The story is about the two of them together. It will be the movie will be about the two of them. It will not be like all the Mandalorians get together sort of thing. It's as stated currently meant to be about the two of them.
And where exactly does this take place within the TV series? Is this like in between
I
the
would
events?
imagine this would be around like how should I put this? It should be after season 3 of The
Mm.
Mandalorian. So it would be like we have yet to hear more of it, but I believe it won't be like it can't be a prequel unless it's yeah, it can't be a prequel unless it's like showing them. No, I can't because season 1 ended with the two of them.
Well, he finds Grogu in season one, so definitely can't be a
Yeah,
prequel.
and season 2 at the end of season 1 he gave Grogu away. Or no, that was the end of season 2.
Yeah, season two.
Yeah, so I mean, it could be somewhere between season 1 and 2 if they wanted to go back that way, but I think it makes more sense to go forward.
But that's what I don't get in terms of the movie though. It's like I mean, how much story is there to tell about him and Grogu? Like I feel it's kind of sounds like a cash grab at this point. Like I don't know what the purpose of this is
Right.
exactly.
Anything at the Mandalorian was always meant to be a cash grab, but the interesting thing is it's one that actually worked because people are interested. But you're right. Like technically speaking, I know you haven't seen it, but the way the season 3 ended, you don't really need more of the Mandalorian. Um, but you could make more stuff if you want to. But it would just be I would prefer them to have a more like specific story and not one that was like kind of just like doing it for the hell of it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Obi-Wan movie, even though a lot of people didn't really like it, felt more necessary
I felt
than
that it was less necessary.
than this.
Yeah, actually I do because we already like they had to invent a whole new middle section
Hmm.
just and also they had to be very very careful what they did so that they didn't because like they really had just like a singular small line
Hmm.
and they couldn't go outside that. This you could do whatever the hell you want. You literally could tell any story.
You could, but like, why though? Again, like the emphasis on him and Grogu. It's like, like, what purpose is this really serving?
Cuteness.
Yeah, again, money grab.
Yes. Star Wars is inherently a money grab.
Which is unfortunate because it wasn't always like that. And this is the thing. Well, this is what happens when like properties get too big, and
Mhm.
then you lose a lot of that originality, and then this like that nuance, and then it just becomes like we're saying now, like a cash grab.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah, I don't
I
know.
we didn't expect to like uh the Mandalorian as much as we did. That like this came out of nowhere.
Hmm.
It has started to go the way of Star Wars usually goes when it's like you're saying like a cash grab that's just kind of like doing it for the hell of it.
Hmm.
If they're doing a film that is very specific, that possibly could focus the minds, and so therefore it just makes it a focused story on something that we didn't realize we wanted until we got it, if that makes sense.
I mean, sure. I don't know, man. I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, if okay, let me put it this way: if I was going to see the movie and asked you to come with, and you were free that day, would you say yes, or would you be like, "Let me know how it is, and I'll get back to
I mean, are you using your scene points?
you"? Sure. Yes, I'll
Okay.
gladly.
Okay, because that changes things. I guess I'll come for the popcorn.
Okay.
I mean, I like a good movie popcorn. All right, and some
Scene
M&Ms.
points. Oh man, I forgot about the scene points. All right, all right. So, all right. So we have some potential for you to enjoy this Mandalorian film.
Yeah.
While we're still under the Star Wars blanket, let me give everyone like the next piece of news, which is a more like a anecdote at this point because nothing has happened aside from the fact that it's now officially been stated that Ahsoka season 2 with Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano is been given a green light, and it will be going into production this year as well. As much as I love Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano, as much as I love Ahsoka Tano as a character, the first season of this show was not for me, and I definitely could do without this. Now, I knew it never was not going to happen, but to be fair, like I'm really hoping that Dave Filoni does a much, much better job than he did with the first season because the first season was it had interesting points, interesting aspects, some really good fights, but also it felt like a wasted opportunity and a really weirdly paced story.
Hmm.
like, uh, let me put it this way, T. I'm not going to try to convince you to watch this because I had a hard enough time watching it myself. I had so many problems by the end of it that, like, I was watching it with my sister and she was like, "Shh, I know you're upset, but shh." And but then near the end, she was like, "Yeah, okay, I can't really argue that,
Mhm.
or I can't argue against this." I was like, "Thank you, I feel vindicated."
I mean, I feel like we say this a lot about a lot of the things that are coming out of Disney at present, like MCU, which of course we're going to get into,
Yes,
um,
that will
a-
be a future topic.
and then also with with Star Wars now, which is kind of unfortunate because of both of these were like heavy hitters like 10 years
Yeah,
ago. Star Wars
they were
even longer than that, right?
they were
So
the hitters.
yeah, so I mean, what do you think it is? Do you think it's like because there's so much excess of keeping on the topic of Star Wars, do you think that because there's just too much that we're being inundated with that it's kind of losing its flair over the years?
It's an interesting question. I would say for me personally, I find that okay. First of all, for the image you have on the furthest left, Andor.
Mhm.
I think Andor is the best Star Wars property I've seen in decades. Like
Interesting.
like I know you're not going to enjoy it, but like this was a show that took nuance, took character development, took uh expanded universe, like grounded storytelling,
Mhm.
and brought it to Star Wars and did a phenomenal job.
Mhm.
And for me, it was what I've been asking for. It's like, yes, it's in a time period that we know, but it's telling fresh stories. It's good writing, good
Mhm.
stories, and also it was complete. Like I remember the head, like the executive producer. He was told, like when he was working on Rogue One, they gave him like a long sheet of things. It's like, don't do this,
Mhm.
stay away from this, don't do that, don't like avoid these things. So he was like, okay, I'm gonna do my TV series. Let's see how this does. They gave him no notes.
Hmm.
He had complete freedom because
Mhm.
it had nothing to like aside from the fact that they had the empire die in the end by the end of the first season, like which is a fairly obvious thing. It's like don't do that. But
Mhm.
like he had no notes, and so we got a fresh story with actual real acting and really like profound moments.
Mhm.
But the thing was, for a lot of Star Wars fans, they're like, "Yo, where's my space? Where are the lightsabers?
Mhm.
Where's the action?" Like, and granted, like there was action, and they were great when it happened, but the action wasn't the point.
Mhm.
It actually was talking more about political intrigue, and like the human element, which is
Mhm.
more Star Trek style. So I
That's
I
okay.
loved Andor.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I think what's happened is they're not because Star Wars, the first original trilogy, was telling its own unique story. And then the prequels was like, okay, we have to reinforce that. And they did a bad job of it, but they had some good ideas.
Mhm.
But they played it they played it fast and loose with the story, which was a stupid thing because it was the same person who wrote it. But the thing is they played it safe in terms of like the abilities.
Mhm.
And like they stopped expanding. They just, you know, prepped what we know before. Then the sequel trilogy happened, and it was kind of like we have no idea what we're doing, and we're gonna just like go with the flow. And
Mhm.
everyone was like, "What the f are you doing?" And then Mandalorian came out, and we went back to what we liked. It was like action, cool storylines with like the Jedi, and also some like really interesting tie-ins to the original story. But now it feels like everyone is just trying to stay within this timeline. It's like you could do all this stuff before. Like you could do the first Jedi versus Sith battles. No one's doing that. Or now they're saying they're going to give it a try. But like you said, now people are kind of like, ugh. But if you did it before, that would have been like, whoa.
Mm.
And they're not doing stuff in the future. Like go in the future. Like take some risks.
Mhm.
And people are like, oh, we took risks and no one liked it. I'm like, okay, doing an origin story for Solo is not taking a risk.
Mhm.
So for me, I think that Andor, for me, is kind of the way we want to go. But and like, I mean, your favorite movie is The Matrix. Is anyone going to say that that's not an action movie? And is anyone going to say there wasn't like profound like acting in it or like really good concepts in that?
No.
Do that. Like just go in the future and have like I don't know cybernetic Jedi, or go into the past and have like like a new Jedi learn like from distant planet being like caught in the Jedi versus Sith war.
Mm,
Do something.
man, I I want to see you write something, man. Like you always have all these like really cool ideas and stuff, like for like current properties that are out right now. It'd be interesting to see what your take would be on like because you know how like when we did a segment on that very similar to that where we were trying to write the Batman villain.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be interesting to.
yours was fucked up, man.
I know. I like to take it there. Saltburn style, bro.
I haven't watched Saltburn, but like, given your description, I'm not sure if I want to. But for
I
those
thought
of
you
you who,
I thought you were gonna watch it this
it's
week.
currently in debate right now.
Mm, that's gonna be in
But
heavy rotation at your house, bro. You never know.
I
You
will.
might get some ideas.
Uh, I Yo, if they let me do that, okay. Let me put it this way: if Rebel Moon didn't do such a great job on its own,
Mm,
that's like Zack. Now, granted, Zack Snyder is not known for being a writer; he's known for being like a visual director. But for me, I would say that I would probably need your backup with Jedi if I was doing a Star Wars story with Jedi, because your spirituality and your interest in spirituality and also your knowledge with like the different forms of spirituality and also like the mechanics of the body that go with it
mhm.
would be a wealth of directions on characterization.
I mean, I'd be open to it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd definitely be open to it.
All right. Moving on to our next piece of geeky news, which is going to be us ripping into something that looks like it shouldn't be happening. We got the first Madam Web from Sony Pictures images, and oh dear God, as you can tell from my reaction, I'm not a fan. I'm not okay. First of all, I'm not a fan of the movie in and of itself. It shouldn't be made. It also shouldn't be made by Sony, who has a very long track record, minus a couple of films here and there, of not doing a great job with the Spider-Man properties, which they have. Everyone knows that I'm also not against all female cast member films. However, this looks like some CW shit.
Hmm.
Also, Madam Web is supposed to be a multiversal character who eventually is meant to be part of a inter-universal battle with the Beyonder. What the hell is this? Also, Madam Web is supposed to be an elderly individual. I'm not saying you can't like de-age people. Like when it came to Spider-Man, like the Homecoming series, you will not hear me complain about Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. That will never happen. I don't care if they de-aged her into her 40s. But this is a little too much, in my opinion. And also, I, as a Spider-Man fan, have no idea who these three characters are. That's not a good sign for a Spider-Man property if you don't know anything about, aside from like the main character. And okay, I'm gonna stop my rant for a second. T, what are your thoughts on how this looks? Let's leaving aside everything else. Do you agree that this looks stupid, or is that just me?
Are we talking the costume or the trailer? Like the entire like what
I'm
we've
gonna say
seen so far.
I'm gonna say the costumes right now.
Um, it's hard to tell from these images, but definitely in the trailer, from what we saw, the costumes look very cheesy. They look like they were put together by like a cosplayer, and that's not a shot at anyone who does cosplay.
Yes, like
I'm just
we love
saying
the
that,
cosplay.
like,
We love the cosplay community, but like y'all not having millions of dollars to your
yeah, like this is not the level, this is not movie level quality here in terms of the costumes. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, what I will say in terms of the de-aging, this apparently, as far as I understand, is supposed to take place way before Peter Parker is even born. So that's what I was told.
Okay.
Like Peter Parker is not like he's not active as Spider-Man at this point yet.
It can't be too much before because like it was relatively modern day from the trailer.
Modern day, well, because I know, I've heard that Uncle Ben is apparently supposed to be in this, and
Yeah.
Peter hasn't been born yet.
Okay, so it's like just before he was born.
Possibly just before. Like it's not like years before he was born, but and I'm sure we're gonna get some sort of Easter egg or something like that that's going to lead into Spider-Man. She's probably gonna end up becoming blind or something like that, and then maybe there's a post-credit scene where she looks more like the comic accurate Madam Web. You know how they try to like connect everything. Yeah, I mean, I'm not super interested in this. I mean, I'll probably end up checking it out of just sheer curiosity, but I'm like, Sony has not really produced a good Spider-Man property in a very long time. In fact, they really, the only thing they have under their belt is the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire and Into the
Amazing
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, sorry, and the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yes, I will say Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, their animated films are their only surviving grace right now.
Right.
Like unequivocally, oh man, this looks even worse. I just don't get it.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. I mean,
Okay,
I'm with you. I like it. Great that it's an all-female cast.
Yes.
You know, on that alone, I hope it does well, but I don't foresee that happening. So
It feels like it's being set up to fail, to be honest.
Well, I think here's the thing. Sony, because they had that joint agreement with Tom Holland Spider-Man, correct? With with MCU, right?
Yes.
So I think ever since that's like as soon as that started, that's when I feel like Sony had just kind of been like trying to like they basically shit the bed and they've just been trying to pump out as much like Spider-Man related properties as possible just to say, oh, people are now like they're interested in us again, even though we can't really use Spider-Man in the capacity that we want to. Let's kind of do some like Spider-Man-esque type of things.
This
Yeah.
too.
And it's like it's just not working. Like I said, if Craven, to kind of shift gears a little bit, but all relative. If Craven, based on the trailer, was not a Craven film, but just like a generic, like, Jason Statham type movie, that's a pretty good trailer. But the fact that we have it, we know the association, and we're just like this is pointless. Why are we doing this? You know what I mean?
Pointless is the exact I can get behind, but I get your point. I can get behind a Mandalorian film, but I can get behind your point. This is like so far on the other end of the spectrum for me. I'm just like, but why though?
And this is another thing that's concerning too, because it's like I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, where I was asking like something to the effect of, are you guys less inclined nowadays to go to the movie, to go out and rush to see a movie? And I for me personally, that is the case. Because I know back in the day, like people were super excited to go to the movies, man. Like they couldn't wait, right? Like they couldn't, like it was the whole experience and everything. And now I feel like movies just aren't delivering on the same quality as they once were. It legit feels like Chat GPT is writing a lot of these films, and you're going and you're wasting your money. And it's like, yeah, you want a good experience, but you also want a good movie to go with it, right? And that's why, like with like Fast X, like or like movies like that, I will go I will go and watch that in 4D. I'll pay the extra money because I want the experience because I know it's going to be a bad shit show of a film. But at least if I'm like moving, it feels like a roller coaster and I'm immersed in this world, then that's worth it for me. But you can't do that with every movie.
No. And to your point, I will say that I think what people are getting tired of is not so much well, I mean, leaving inflation out of it. We don't want to watch a film that A doesn't make sense and B doesn't like give us anything.
Yeah.
And people are saying, "Oh, well, there's superhero fatigue." I don't think it's so much superhero fatigue as it is bad storytelling fatigue. Because
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I understand we had a writer strike for a long time, which means a lot of things were pushed back, a lot of things haven't been released. But the fact that we had Barbenheimer
Mm-hmm.
proves that we could have people want to go to the movie theater.
Yeah.
They just need an excuse.
A good
And
excuse.
exactly, and we're not getting it.
Yeah. Because, like, yeah, honestly, like, for the quality that we've been getting, it's like, if I'm going to go get dressed, spend my hard earned cash on a lackluster film, I feel like that it's almost a waste. I might as well just wait until it comes out on streaming and just sit at home and watch it. Like,
And
what are
also,
you like
yeah,
aside from the quality?
it's
What else are you
lackluster.
good? Yeah,
Beforehand it's lackluster, and then it's either disappointment or it's like slightly less lackluster.
yeah. And then
And
but then you have the issue of like, and I mean, this is a rare occurrence, but I feel like you know the way things are going that this might be more and more the case. But like, then you have good movies that should have been released in the theater that end up on streaming, like Prey, and you're like, I would have watched this in the theater.
that would have been gorgeous in theaters.
Yeah, but it's like it
Gorgeous in
goes
theaters.
it goes straight to streaming. You're just like, oh, like movies like this should go direct to streaming. Like
Yes,
how
exactly.
back in the day, the blockbuster days, how they had direct to video. Like it, this is what I feel like it should be, like direct to streaming, like
And
straight up.
yeah, and like okay. Now there is an element of us like missing the point, missing an element where it's like a lot of the direct to streaming films were female led, like Black Widow, Prey,
Mhm.
I think it was like Tornado Red, which was like an animated one. But nonetheless, like these are all like female led stuff that were just being shoved into the streaming service. Granted, they're like, oh, it's the pandemic. I'm like,
Bro,
do we
Black
really?
Widow was so that what they did was so disrespectful because Black Widow
Yeah,
deserved to be in. Like, say what you will about that movie, like I had a good time with it.
I had a good time too. Like that was a solid MCU film.
Yeah,
And but like this this should go directly to like a streaming service. It even looks like it should go to direct to streaming
100%,
service.
one hundred
And
percent.
yes, you could say, oh well, we're just like it's too early. You can't tell. Let me ask you, T. Do you disagree with my assessment that this looks CW?
I do not disagree, not one bit. I mean, okay, look, you never. There's a lot of hardworking people that are
Yeah,
behind this film, so you never want to sit here and be like, "Oh, that's going to be a bad film." We in a perfect world, we all want films to do well. We
yeah,
all want to be able to watch a film and say, "I had a good time with that." That's
yes.
unfortunately not the reality. I wish it was the case with this, but things aren't looking too good. And Sony's
Agreed.
track record, I mean, it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. The
I,
thing is, I'm just not interested in these characters. Like,
I don't know these characters, and like as a comic book geek who actually loves the Spider-Man franchise, the fact that I don't know these characters is a little surprising. But to be fair, okay, hold up. Playing devil's advocate,
mhm,
Guardians of the Galaxy, those that's like D level characters being
mhm.
given an entire movie themselves. So fine, you can find DE level characters given their own movie. Sure. This don't really have that level of good lookingness as it did with Guardians of the Galaxy.
I agree.
And
I agree.
at the same time, we're get it, like if nothing else, like maybe give it to like directors we know can deliver. Now, I will say that the director for Madam Web isn't like an inherently bad director. She
Mm-hmm.
if I remember correctly, she has done some like British shows.
Mm-hmm.
I know she did an episode of Dexter or a couple episodes of Dexter. Uh, I vaguely remember her doing something with Heroes
Mm-hmm.
and other shows of that style. I know she did one of the Netflix Marvel series. I can't remember which one.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was an Iron Fist, so that would be a point against her. But like nonetheless, she has directed episodes of
Mm-hmm.
for good series. I don't know all of them, but like she has done it. So like, but this is still like a big risk in my opinion to give to someone that is a relative unknown with a bunch of unknown characters. Like
Mm-hmm.
James Gunn wasn't incredibly unknown when Guardians of the Galaxy came out. Like we didn't know
Mm-hmm.
how good he was, but he wasn't like some random person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping this goes down that route, but like you said, Sony's track record is not good.
Yeah. Here's the thing. To play devil's advocate or just kind of approach this from a more positive, optimistic
Okay.
standpoint. Would you say that there are certain bad movies that are kind of like your guilty pleasure, where you're like
I've been asked this
it's
before
it's
recently.
universally known to be a bad film, but you just have a soft spot for it where you enjoy it, you have a good time with it?
I don't know because I was asked this question like a couple months ago, and
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gotten back to the person because I literally have to like look up bad movies that I enjoyed because I tend to avoid poorly
Bad
rated.
movie.
Yeah,
Got you. Okay.
but what you could say is like nostalgic films, like things from like the past
Yeah,
that
yeah, that don't
don't
hold up well.
they
Yeah.
don't hold up well.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
okay, here's an example. Batman Forever.
Oh,
I
I thought you were
watched
gonna say 89, bro. I was gonna fly to Colombia and slap you, bro.
no. Batman 89 is not a bad film.
Okay. Okay, just as long as we're on the same page.
Batman Forever, on the other hand.
Yeah, that's a good example. It's a pretty
So
bad film.
I watched the shit out of that. Now, again,
Mm-hmm.
I was younger back then. I didn't know better. I did know a little bit better, but like I still watched the crap out of that movie to the point that I have that movie memorized. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with Mortal Kombat. But
Mm-hmm.
again, like that's like you and like the Predator movie. Like I still watch the Predator movie,
Mm-hmm.
the original with Arnold Schwarzenegger, even though it's just like testosterone incarnate.
Yeah.
So like, but the thing is, that's nostalgic based. Like, can you call that a guilty pleasure if it's like nostalgic if you grew up with it?
No, but that I the point I'm getting at is like so we watched those films, and I agree with you. I'm in full agreement in terms of Batman Forever. I share the same sentiment. Um, doesn't hold up well, but it's still just based off nostalgia. Like you're like, okay, yeah, I could sit through this movie, most of it, you know. Um, and I feel like that's gonna be the case for a lot of like kids are like that were our age when we watched Batman Forever, right? Where it's like they're gonna watch this and gonna be like, they're gonna eat this shit up, and then later on in life when they're older, and then if they provided they do their homework and like understand the lore of Batman or sorry of Spider-Man,
Yeah.
then they're gonna be like, oh, this is actually not a good film, but there's a nostalgia level there that I thoroughly enjoyed because of the experience. Because I'll be honest, as much of a Batman fan as I was back then, I didn't know the ins and like. I mean, I know you're different, but like for me, I didn't read the comics as a kid, right?
Right.
So I just knew based off of Batman 89. I was like, this is a dope character. And then Batman Returns, we got it was a little bit darker, but I mean, I didn't care. I didn't really didn't matter to me. Then we got Batman Forever, and it was like strange seeing a different face of Bruce Wayne. But I'm like, okay, I guess this is the same thing. Let's give it to
I
me.
see. I see Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like I ate that shit up, and then didn't at the time I didn't think it was a bad film. I didn't even know there was anything tonally different. I just was like so enamored by the fact that it was like Batman,
More
right?
Batman.
Yeah, just more Batman. Give me more Batman. So I feel like that this could potentially be the same case for a lot of people, or sorry, not a lot of people, a lot of kids that are watching it. And so,
I guess I'll be happy if a bunch of young girls have cosplay ideas that they can like now see happen.
yeah.
And also, or I should say, sorry, not cosplay, costumes, like Halloween costumes
Yeah,
that they can
yeah,
be like.
yeah.
Um, I-
And to that point, look how bad the Batman franchise had to get before they actually did it right with
oh, Batman and
Christopher
Robin.
Nolan's thing, right?
Yeah,
So who's to say that maybe like they just like this is like history is just basically repeating itself in a different format.
with Sony.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, Sony has done. Oh, no, hold on. Warner Brothers did some good Batman stuff, and then they went downhill. You could say the same about Sony.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Okay.
It's
All right.
Spider-Man's turn now.
Apparently, moving on to our next topic, which does kind of fit within the realm of nostalgia, especially with stuff growing up. Now, I will say that this is where my expertise goes out and tactics flies high with all of his information and background now. So, like,
You're the
the,
best around.
so the news that came out this week is that season 6 of Cobra Kai is now happening. Like people, like they are filming season 6 as we speak. It's back. It's like moving forward. I believe this is the final season,
Yeah.
and also, uh, what has also been talked about by what's his name, John Hurwitz, who's like the co-creator of the series, is that we're going to see some uh, nostalgic old faces to this current season.
Hilary
And the
Swank,
rumor,
hopefully.
it is Hilary Swank.
Is it confirmed?
Let me read the tweet. I can't promise the Hawk or any Oscar winners in this photo. I will never give potential spoilers, but rest assured we'll have at least one character from the Karate Kid films return that hasn't yet appeared on Cobra Kai.
Oh,
And
she's definitely coming.
he has a picture with Mr. Miyagi, Hilary Swank, and a hawk.
Oh, snap. Okay. Because she's the only one left. She's the only one left that they haven't brought back. Obviously, Mr. Miyagi can't come back, rest in peace, but
Yes, rest in peace.
she's the only one left. And I guess Jaden Smith, if his universe is canon with this, which I guess it is because of the movie now.
The movie with the Jackie Chan and
Yeah,
Hurwitz
and
like working together, or sorry,
yeah,
not Hurwitz, my man on the left.
yeah.
So
Ralph,
yeah. So T,
yeah,
what are you? Since I have no knowledge of Cobra Kai because I haven't watched a single episode, and I only
yeah,
watched the first Karate Kid way back in the day, and also the remake with Jaden Smith.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on this news?
So I'm excited for the news, like, and I don't get excited but for much. But okay, so here's what I'll say, because it's actually very convenient that we've been talking about nostalgia, because I don't know if this is a good TV series. All I know is I
Seriously?
no, I mean that wholeheartedly, because all I know is I love this show because of the fact that I grew up on the Karate Kid. Like I've
Okay.
so because I have that nostalgia, like the show is cheesy. It's borderline ridiculous. Like it's like this would never happen in real life. Oh, like a lot of the stuff that happens in this show, you're like, where are the cops in this show? Like y'all should be every one of you should be arrested at this point. Season 2 to like 5 shouldn't have happened because everyone would have been in jail. But but they just go off the walls, and they for the most part they don't take themselves seriously in this show. But I just love it, man. I never thought I would, because initially when I saw the trailer for the first season, and this is when like when YouTube was like doing their movie and TV streaming service or whatever, so they were actually producing a lot of like content. And
Yeah.
so this actually first aired on the YouTube originals, and I thought it was a parody or like when when they do like cheesy like nostalgic commercials, like
Yeah,
when they brought
satire.
back like the Ferris Bueller commercial, or whatever. I thought that's what it was. I'm like, this is not a real show, and then sure enough, it was. So I checked out the first episode, and I was like, this is kind of cheesy, man, corny, and like the choreography is like really stale, but something about it, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna give the second episode a watch, and then the third episode, and then before long, I'm like binging the entire series, and it just kept getting progressively better and better each time because they kept bringing back new like old faces, and I'm just like, damn, man. So it's like if you're a fan of Karate Kid and you've seen all three plus the Hilary Swank one, then you're probably gonna love this show. If you haven't, then it's gonna be 50-50.
That's intriguing. That makes me almost want to check it out just to give you that like perspective.
Yeah, I'd be interested as well. Cause I personally I don't know if you'd be able to ride it all the way through.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know. But for me, I was digging it. I was digging it. And like every at the end of every season, they have like an epic like brawl of some sort. Like I think in the first or second season, there was like a high school brawl with all the students, and yeah, like shit literally just went crazy bananas, bro. And I was just like, yo, what is happening? Where are the police?
That's exactly.
Why like
Like I now get what your question of, because like if a all the school out brawl, where were the teachers?
bro, it's insane. Like I almost just want you to Google like just to YouTube that scene, and you're like, yo, how did it get this bad? Like how did it escalate like this? But yeah, I mean, I love it, man. I'm excited for the movie. I'm excited for season 6. I'm glad that it's a bittersweet thing that they're ending it, but like I feel like it would overstay its welcome if they kept going, and like
I
because
hear that.
I feel like at this point it's like what's really left for them to do unless they decide they want to do a spin-off, right?
Right.
um but yeah, I mean, like the fact that this whole series came about from like a like kind of like a joke where it was like because I don't know if you're familiar. I don't know, did you see the first Karate Kid movie?
The very first one, like way
Okay,
back in
so
the day. Yeah.
so at the end, so the way Daniel LaRusso wins the fight is like based on the rules within the karate tournament.
Yeah.
He actually lost. He actually should have been disqualified because he did an illegal kick apparently. But
Right.
the movie made it seem like, oh, like he won or whatever. And so there was always this like budding joke for years where it was like oh yeah, it was an illegal kick. Daniel's actually the villain. He's not the hero or whatever. And then they even in How I Met Your Mother, that became a running joke as well because Barney was always like, yeah, my hero from the Karate Kid. And they were like, oh, you mean Ralph? Daniel LaRusso? He's like, no, I mean Johnny Lawrence. He's the real hero of the story. So it just became a progressively like this running gag. And then they made that into the show and then build on that. And so it was fascinating, man.
That's cool. That's actually kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. I love the series, man. I'm not gonna lie.
All right. Well, does Darcy watch this too?
I don't think so. I don't know. I think Darcy would have the chances of Darcy liking it more so than you is a lot higher, but by like a small margin, like by a dick hair. Like it would be like negligible. Like I don't foresee you guys sticking with this like unless you guys were like fans and you watched all the older movies. I don't know, man. But I love it. I love the show.
All right. Well, let's put this to the audience. For those of you watching, if you haven't watched the original Karate Kid series and are watching Cobra Kai, what are your thoughts? Do you consider it to be a good show, or do you consider it to be a guilty pleasure show? And then hopefully we'll get some discussion from that.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what like our audience thinks of the show.
Yeah,
because I like I said, I honestly don't know if it's a good show. I just like it because of the nostalgia factor.
Fair enough. I will say that, like, based off what I've heard from other people and from you, they're at least doing the nostalgia right.
Oh yeah, it's perfectly done. Like the way that they do everything, the way they set things up, and they bring back old characters that were like villains in the old movies that become the heroes, or like they work with Daniel. Like they bring back everybody, and it's just like, oh man, like the way that they intertwine into the story is really well done. It's like probably the best I've seen in terms of nostalgia in a long time.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Moving on to our first big discussion topic, which kind of connects to what we were talking about a little bit earlier on. So, earlier this week, excuse me, Marvel Studios executives gave an interview, and they were the topic of the interview had to do with the problems the MCU has had, and let's say that it's debatable to what extent the problems have been, but everyone will agree there have been problems. So, the what's resulted in this is that people were up until about like Avengers Endgame and A Far From Home. Most people were happy with the MCU, like consistently so. The Netflix Marvel series shows were like with Daredevil was beloved, Jessica Jones was yes or no, Luke Cage was kind of a yes or no, and everyone fucking hated Iron Fist.
Mm.
Oh, just a side note, minus Iron Fist, the other three have been confirmed as being part of MCU canon now,
Oh
officially.
yes, I did hear that. Yeah.
Yes, so like I feel they could have done that a lot sooner, but whatever. So what the executive was saying is that mixed in with the global pandemic, and there was a shift from movies to streaming. And Disney Plus started like producing tons of content. And as we've noted, he officially has stated that there was a dip in quality because they focused on content over quality. As a result, they're now in the process of correcting the course, as they put it. Like they've started delaying a bunch of movies and TV series, and like for example, like the new Captain America movie is apparently getting some like rewrites. Daredevil Born Again is like they're like rewriting the whole thing. So like and also they're trying to like the new series Echo. I've only watched the first episode so far. I will say Echo is going in like the direction we would want it to, but it's not quite there. But given the fact that they're redoing Daredevil Born Again, in hopes of being on the same level of Echo and also the Netflix series before that, which they've now canonized, I get this. But anyway, so he admitted that, and I quote, "We've learned a lot. We produced a lot of content very quickly, and we're primarily a filmmaking company. So you can see that our first round of shows have a very movie-like structure. They arc out the characters by the end, and it feels like a standalone limited series. Now, just taking that part in and of itself, I will agree. They they were doing series is the way like, and we've talked about this in the past. They were
Uh-huh.
making TV series is the way they make movies, which makes you wonder, did anyone not give them this very obvious shift? But to continue, he says, moving forward, our content is going to feel a lot more like television. It kind of drives towards the horizon, drives towards the future, and keeps people engaged for longer periods of time in the more leaned back setting of your living room to set it apart, frankly, from the big cinematic event experiences in the movie theater. And finally, I think we've conditioned the audience to expect that these films will be on streaming platforms relatively quickly, and that the experience of assessing them and watching them in the home is better than it ever was. I'm not so, as someone who was mildly concerned with the way the MCU was going, but did recognize that there were some pearls along the way. I was noting that there was a lot of problems happening. Tactics has very vocally on multiple occasions, despite my being able to prove that he actually liked a lot more movies in Phase 4 than he likes to admit. You acknowledged it, and we have the receipts on our channel. So, nonetheless, T, hearing this from this Marvel Studios executive, I should say, does this make you feel any better, or does it
So
actually make
bas-
you feel worse?
so basically, they're just like, "Yo, my bad.
Pretty much.
We fucked up. Our bad." um, at this point, I'm kind of like, I'll believe it when I see it. That being said, I don't know if you sent this to me and I just happened to stumble upon it on my TikTok without actually opening the inbox message yet. I'm gonna get to your messages, I promise. This is a
I believe
lot,
you,
bro.
Rob. I believe you.
But there was one of those TikTokers who was basically saying that, like, when you think about everything in hindsight regarding what we've gotten so far in the MCU, and you break it down, we think that, like, with the exception of like phase 4, that the MCU has been like giving us like nonstop bangers with and have you seen this video?
I have, or I've seen something
Yeah.
like it.
So like he did make a good point. Like certain films that we thought like were like amazing, we're kind of like, oh, like, I guess they weren't as good as we thought they were. I mean, I didn't agree with everything he said on in terms of like the list breakdown, but for the most part, he was accurate. And like, like what he was pointing out is that, like, rather than us thinking that Marvel was the whole time was like this, like an upward trajectory, it was kind of like, you know, like a wave of up and downs. And so,
I would say our lows were never as bad as the lows we've gotten in phase 4, though.
agreed. Yeah. Cause I mean, we had like
Iron Man
one or
2 wasn't
two,
great.
yeah, we had
I
one or two
I hated
misses in
Iron Man 2.
between.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like
wasn't a big
big misses,
fan.
like big misses.
Yeah.
But
Well,
like,
these are big misses now, and like,
yes, we're
yeah,
consistent business because
yeah.
like to his point, he was saying like Avengers: Age of Ultron and Iron Man 2 were disappointments.
I wouldn't say it for me. I enjoyed Age of Ultron. I know people weren't happy with it, and the trailer really hyped it up more so than what we actually got. So I can agree with that. But I had a good time with Age of Ultron.
Okay.
I will agree. Iron Man 2 is definitely a big miss. Um, yeah, I mean, what I hope anyway. And again, it for me. Where I stand now is I'll believe it when I see it. But I think they got a little overzealous with like the amount of content that they were putting out. And like you said, it was like quantity over quality at that point. And based on like what we've heard about in the background in terms of like how they've been treating a lot of their special effects artists and everything, like putting them under the gun and like putting a lot
Yeah.
of that added pressure on them, obviously you're going to get a lot of shit quality because everything is so rushed, right? You're not taking your time with your property. So I think they need to pull things back and really focus on going back to forming and establishing some quality and get us to be interested and get excited for what's to come, right? And maybe you don't need to don't advertise everything that's happening in the future. Like, I know
Yeah.
people are excited and they want to know what's happening, but it's like you end up shooting yourself in the foot when there's one delays or cancellations.
Yeah. And like the whole Kang thing, like, I mean, the whole Jonathan Majors thing is a completely separate issue, but
Mhm.
they basically like we found out about Thanos like realistically, like officially confirmed
Mhm.
in the first Avengers film. For us,
Yeah.
the first Avenger film was the big deal.
Mhm.
And then the next thing is like, okay, Thanos. And we didn't get anything from Thanos until like well into phase 2. And then we got it all in phase 3 and what a phase it was. But it
Yeah.
wasn't like this thing that was consistently built up always. It was always in the backdrop.
Yeah. And so another thing that really helped with that too is that so they ended up using two different actors for Thanos because when the first actor that we got for Thanos in the first Avengers was a different guy. I don't remember what his name was, but
Neither do I.
it helps considering that Thanos was primarily CG, right? So they could show him, have him show up, and then not really worry about the actor later on kind of thing, right? But like with Kang, the way that they did him with the human form and everything, it's like, well, you kind of shot yourself in the foot because of everything that's happening now. So I think some things they have to keep close to the chest. You can allude to certain things, but like unless you know like you have a strong foundation and you solidified your plan, don't say shit to us.
Yeah,
Don't say
yeah.
anything.
I will say that what this executive says, one part like makes me feel better and also a bit worse, because Darcy and I both agreed, and I'm not sure if you also agree with this too, and hopefully you'll let me know. What they should have done after Endgame was not go bigger. They needed to
Mhm.
go like down and start talking about how like individuals were dealing with the snap,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
showing how people dealt were dealing with when the snap happened, and also not dealing with the after effects. They've like teased on it in the series, but they haven't really gone into depth with it. Him talking about changing everything to television form, like I'm like, I don't think you need to do that. Also, like good for you for choosing to do the television series as television series. I mean, I felt you didn't need to have an entire phase worth of failures or disappointments to kind of like get you to realize that. But he didn't talk about the thing that I think is the bothers me the most. It's like, and that came like loud and clear with Secret Invasion and the second Doctor Strange movies. You don't have people making the content that have watched or like known about the stuff that was done previously.
Mm.
Like, say what you want about people who enjoyed the second Doctor Strange movie. They did Wanda dirty and completely against her character development in the first one. Like
Mhm.
that should never happen. You didn't watch Secret Invasion. I did. They basically undid everything good and cool and off and like interesting about Nick Fury, and the people who made the series never watched this MCU and never read the source material.
Mm.
So, like, how do you expect to make a show that we're going to be behind when you're not like? It's not like they're disrespecting the source material or for what's come before. It's completely against everything that we've seen.
Well, they also did that with Taika Waititi, where we found out that he didn't even like Thor as a character to begin with. So it was like, so you're telling me that like it just sounded like a sabotage job. Like he was literally just trying to like fuck around and just be like, yeah, I don't like this character, but they're paying me money, so I'm gonna do it however I want to do it.
I can understand his perspective for the first one, where it's like, hey, this is a serious guy with a Shakespearean background. Let's make it funny. Fine. I wasn't a fan of it, but most of everybody else was. So like that's why I allowed myself to be the minority in that one and be like, fine.
Mhm.
The fact that he doubled down afterwards, I'm like, bro,
No kidding.
like come
No
on.
kidding. But let me ask you this. Do you think that shows like Invincible and The Boys and now Gen V, do you think that it's making it harder for MCU properties to garner the success that they need
That's a great question.
when when it seems they're seamlessly being overshadowed by these much darker shows like Invincible and the other
Okay,
aforementioned?
I will say that darker. Okay, just a side note. Before I'm just going to preface my answer by saying darker and edgier and like nudity doesn't make it better.
Absolutely, I agree.
What Invincible and also the boys and Gen V are all doing great is they're paying homage to the source material, which
Mhm,
inherently is good,
mhm,
and they're modernizing it when it needs to be to make it
mhm,
relatable.
mhm,
And yeah, you could say that they're like making them political, but like to
mhm.
be honest, like literally all comics in some form or another are political.
Yeah,
Like look at the X-Men for crying out loud.
yeah.
So you don't like I'm just gonna say that you don't need to be edgier, you don't need to be darker for it to work. Now now they are quality superhero stuff,
Mhm,
not because of the darkness and edginess. because of how they're going about it, which is they're trying to tell a story, they're trying to make it relatable, they're trying to make it cool, but also like they're trying to make people think. Now, with the boys and Gen V, they're also trying to traumatize while they're at it. Invincible, I mean, you could say, well, actually, no, sorry, season 1 finale definitely was traumatizing for me, and the first episode too. Yeah, like
Yeah.
those hit hard, but it's not. It's making. I will agree, it is making Marvel have to work harder because now they are not the only quality out there. Before they had DCEU and Sony,
Yeah.
they could do just borderline decent work, and we'd
Hmm.
be like, yes, this is a steak.
Hmm.
Now, like with Invincible, Gen V, and the boys, we all started eating steaks regularly,
Yeah.
and now they're like, hey man, like
Yeah.
my meat patty. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
like granted, we're not getting like Burger King,
Hmm.
but like at the same time, there's still a meat patty, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is, they're just trying to throw it at us. It's like, look
Hmm.
how affordable it is. Look how many of them you can have. Like you can buy them in Costco in bulk. It's like, I think you missed the point. So, and leaving aside the contractual issues of not having their number one priorities, which is going to be our next topic, but you still have a lot of characters with a lot of history, with a lot of characters, with a lot of like okay, you brought up Thor. Let's use that as an example. Thor is not an easy read. Not even comic books. Not a lot. It's not like everyone read Wolverine.
Hmm.
Everyone read Spider-Man. Everyone read the X-Men, Batman, Superman. Not everyone read the horror,
Hmm.
but you can do Thor stories in relatable ways. Taika Waititi didn't do that. With the Eternals, you for me like that was the Marvel experimenting, but experimenting the right way. It didn't entirely work, but it didn't fail either, despite what people say.
Hmm.
But those are the sorts of like tries, like quality out there edgier ties where it's like, okay, hey, we're gonna go away from the mold, but we're gonna do it in like a respectful manner. There's
Hmm.
no one who could say that Eternals was done in a way that was just meant to get like get people in seats. It was trying to do
Yeah.
its own thing.
I agree. I just think that Marvel, as of late, have really been pulling their punches, and especially in comparison to,
Amazon.
Amazon, like Gen V, whatever, like what they're doing right now. And I agree. Like properties don't need to be dark and edgy to be of quality, because, like, put it this way, like all of those shows on Amazon are super hyper violent. And yes, that is going to appeal to a certain demographic. Some people are really into that, and it's like it's the shock value, right? Like a
Yeah.
lot of people find that really really appealing. But it's not enough. You have to have the quality behind it to back it up. Because, like, for example, you have like that horror film, the Winnie the Pooh, like how they turned Winnie the Pooh into
Oh,
like a horror film, right? I never watched that. I saw a couple of clips, and it's hyper violent, but the quality is shit. Like, and there's obviously, you can tell by the synopsis, there's no storyline there whatsoever. So it's like, just because it's dark and edgy doesn't make it a good quality property, right? And so I think that, you know, the quality definitely has to be there, and the quality has definitely fallen by the wayside over the last several years when it comes to MCU, which is unfortunate. I don't think they necessarily have to go dark per se, but I think there has to be, as long as they're not pandering to kids, which I feel
yeah.
like they're doing because of the fact that they're associated with Disney, they're under the Disney name,
I feel
and
they're being held back by that. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the issue,
Okay.
or part of the issue.
Welcome back, Chris Tari. We've missed you. Chris Tari said, "At least Eternal shot for the stars. Meanwhile, Echo shot for mediocrity." Uh, Interesting. I look forward to
Interesting.
I look forward to seeing how Echo did. Like Echo, like both with critics and audience, they were pretty even by 75%. So like, yes, that's, I wouldn't say that's mediocre, but then again, I haven't watched it, so like I don't want to say.
Okay,
But
in comparison to the previous Marvel shows that we've gotten so far,
that's a
like
bit above what some of them were, to be honest, because like
okay,
they were always like this with the shows, like audience and critics, they were like this all the time.
yeah,
This is the first time I've in a while that I've seen like an actual like equivalent. But going back to your point, so when you were like, okay, let's use Thanos as an example. Before Thanos showed up with Josh Brolin doing his stuff, we only knew him from the comics, and in the and also in the cartoons. In the comics, he was the guy who was like, his big thing was, to boil it down to one simple thing, he was a psychopath who like actively was in love with the personification of death, and was therefore killing half the universe, wiping people out, doing all that stuff to basically get death to like him back.
what a fuck boy.
Exactly. He was a fuckboy, but nonetheless, he was like a very powerful fuckboy that people had very interesting, like, and I will say that some stories really were messed up and like interesting. But the MCU took this intergalactic fuckboy and brought him into an eco-terrorist. And not one person has disliked that modernization, that extra nuance. That is what MCU hasn't been doing lately. They haven't been taking properties and modernizing, making them relatable, but also making them dark. Like, there's not a person, I don't know any child who can watch Avengers and be like, "Oh, mommy, look at that guy. He looks so cool." No, he's scary. And like all through Infinity War, we're like, this guy can't be stopped.
Yeah.
And then he showed up in like Endgame, and it's like, yo, he gonna kill everyone again, isn't he? We're not getting that, and this is fine. You could say that's the ultimate villain, but like the Russo brothers, the reason why freaking Winter Soldier made us love the Captain America. He became a golden boy after that.
Yeah.
Civil War gave us, like, people were debating. Everyone was debating
Which
Civil
side you're
War.
on? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The Russo brothers know how to take comic book characters, bring them into the modern day, and have us talk about it. Chris Story's like, you might even say he had fan nuance. I don't even know how to say that. Fan nuance. Well done, Chris. The MCU isn't doing that right now because like they're trying to get you to like them. They're trying to get you hyped. They're not giving you characters to love.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah, I
with
agree.
Black Panther 2, I will say that they took a tragedy and they made it work as best they could.
Yeah.
And that swung emotional hits. And I'm blanking on it right now, but like we did get a couple of gems here and there. And WandaVision, like we got some gems there too. Loki, we like, I know you haven't seen season 2, but season 2 kind of started like made me start to like the MCU again. It's like, okay, no, but we still have stories to tell that are interesting. The problem with the MCU, and I think honestly with superhero films right now, is they're trying to get you to like them. They're trying to get you to be all jazzed up. They're not telling you a story. They're not saying something.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I honestly, I've kind of given up on not superhero properties, but like just
You're guarded. You're hurt.
Yeah, like I'm interested in what like James Gunn is gonna do with the DCU. I'm not. I again, I'm of the mind of like I'll believe it when I see it, even on DCU. Like on the DCU side, like even though James Gunn is attached to all this stuff, I'm just like, can he pull it off in the position that he's in right now? Because before he was just the director, and now he's kind of got a lot more creative control, which could be a good thing. I mean, more optimistic about him over there than what's happening over on at the MCU. But I mean, hopefully they learn their lesson. I want them both to thrive simultaneously because it's always been like MCU. Well, DC hasn't thrived at all. So like,
No, The Dark Knight.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay,
During the
yeah,
whole, like
yeah,
that was the golden age of Warner Brothers, and then
100, yeah,
then they like drove themselves into a wall.
yeah. But man, like
Yeah.
Batman, it's like Bane breaking Batman's back because it's like he's been carrying the DCU for years now. He's the only one, and Wonder Woman now, but the first one.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So, Cloud Glale is also saying that DC Animation 2. I will say DC Animation was holding its own. It kind of just severely dropped down for me since they started adapting.
They have a new one coming out, right?
Yeah, it's like the Crisis of Infinite Earth. They're doing the adaptation for that comic. So
I heard that one's okay.
Has it been released yet?
I heard someone talking about it. They're like, yeah, it's actually not bad, but I don't know if it's out to the public.
I know that they have been releasing clips.
So I don't know.
Anyway.
Maybe I just made that up.
Okay, maybe. But okay, so moving on to our final topic or discussion topic. So Tactics and I had a discussion on here, I think a couple of weeks ago now, where we said that we want the X-Men to be brought into the MCU. Well, let me put that well, given the entire conversation we just had, we want that to be done well. But how would we want to do it? And our discussion was, well, we kind of wanted to like start small and work its way up. Now, apparently, and I'm joking when I say this, a couple of articles specifically from comic book, like CBR, comic book resource. I can't remember what the R stands for, but they released an article last week where it was essentially saying for the MCU should, in order to get the X-Men right for the MCU, they need to start with one character and build from there. But then they started giving us suggestions of which X-Men character it should be. And so I figured, since they decided to have the discussion and like write an entire article, we might as well take back our topic and like talk about it here. So T, let's say you're going to be running the X-Men for the MCU. Which character would you want, let's leave out the big names. Let's leave out Wolverine, let's leave out Professor Xavier, let's leave out Magneto. They've been done already. Let's even leave out Mystique, which apparently was one too. Which character, for the first X-Men movie in the MCU, which character would you want us to focus on for their story, for us to be introduced to the X-Men? And why have you chosen that character?
Avoiding the heavy hitters?
Yes. Do you need a minute?
I mean, here's my thing.
Okay.
I think they did Cyclops dirty throughout the entire franchise. I know he's a heavy hitter, but bro, he took a backseat the entire franchise, and then they killed my man off in the third movie. Like you don't even see his death on screen. It's just like he's an afterthought. You're like, oh yeah, he was in that movie. Like, so I think he deserves. I think he deserves a shot, like a solo film. Like,
okay,
you know what I mean? Because yeah, that was just super disrespectful. I'm not even a big Cyclops fan, but I felt sorry for boy. I was like, like, wow, man. Like, I was Team Wolverine all the way, but like they gave that man no love. So I think he needs a shot of redemption for sure.
Okay, just to interject, I will say that your idea does. So in the comic history, people have viewed Scott that way. They're just like, yo, he's just there. Like, what's the point? He just shoots things. Like, why is he so built? He should just like be in a wheelchair or something, or be fat. And also he's
he's like the Leonardo of the X-Men.
So what happened was in like I think like 10 years ago, they started writing Scott to be like this, like not this like upshot anyone. He's like, no, he's an asshole.
Hmm.
But at the same time, he's an asshole who gets it done. Like he actually broke away from Xavier and started like working with Magneto and bringing
Oh
half
shit.
the X-Men with him.
See, that would make for an interesting story, I think.
That's what I'm talking about.
I would be on board with that. Like some contention going on between the X-Men, and then, you know, his leadership is in question, and then he goes and he like starts to rendezvous with the Brotherhood instead. I think
He
that'd be pretty
hooked
cool.
he cheated on Jean Grey with the White Queen.
Ooh, okay. So if we make him too much of an asshole,
Telepathically though.
oh,
It was in
telepath.
his head.
Hey, still cheating. Still, it's that's how it starts, man. It starts in the mind first, and then it manifests, man.
Well,
Um.
Jean actually she walked in his mind on the two of them telepathically doing it.
Oh, wait, what? Wow. But okay, so I mean, but sometimes a boy has dreams, man. Can he really be held accountable? I don't know. I don't.
No, no,
I say it.
she was in the dream. Like she went into his mind,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Yo, what's up, girl?"
Oh, so he was like doing this consciously. It wasn't even a dream. Ah, okay. So like wishful thinking. He's out
Yeah.
here just, okay.
So Chris Tari, just before you could carry on, Chris Tari says, Jimmy says Cyclops is what Captain America was before the Russo brothers took over. I
Ah,
see
okay.
that.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah,
that.
that makes sense.
That's a fair analogy.
But see, under the right direction, my boy could get the redemption that he deserves. I don't know if I want him to go full asshole, like full dick, but like,
But it was interesting because Wolverine and Cyclops like Wolverine basically stayed true to Professor Xavier and basically started teaching kids. He became the new headmaster of the Xavier Institute,
mhm.
and Scott was like fighting for mutant rights.
See, that was okay. So, but that's the thing, though. It's like if you make him too much of a dick, then it's like he might as well have just taken a backseat the entire time because like no one's gonna like this guy. It's like I don't want to see any more movies of this guy.
No, but think of it this way. Remember we had to debate the fact that Xavier was too much of a pacifist?
Yeah.
So Scott was in the middle. He was between Magneto and Professor Xavier. He was like, no,
Oh,
no,
I
we need to
see.
do,
Okay.
and that's why Magneto was like, okay, I'll tone it down
Hmm.
if, and I'll work with you. And Wolverine's like, you're betraying everything you did after you betrayed your wife. And it's like, and they had a big fight over it too.
Okay. Yeah, that I could see that being interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't think you'd go Cyclops.
Yeah. I'd also want to see Gambit though too, but I know Gambit is like he comes much later.
Hmm.
Um.
If you show his storyline from the beginning of his life, actually, it would be interesting if, like, at the end of his movie, you see him join up with the X-Men.
Here's the thing though. Here's like, are the X-Men strong enough to carry a movie on their own, like individually, or do people love the X-Men collectively as a group? And that's why they are so drawn to them.
Yeah, so that's very similar to the question you posed before, which this article then decided to, like, again, I'm joking, but they decided to steal and then do a whole like article about like the 10 X-Men that the movie should be focused on specifically to then
Yeah.
have the final have a Avengers movie, which is the X-Men coming together all together.
Yeah.
I will say they are.
Mhm.
There's lots of history between them, and also if you take the history and like respect the history and also modernize the information, it can be like with Cyclops. You could, instead of showing him to be like the the good soldier of Professor Xavier, show him to be like, no, but like we should be doing more. And Professor Xavier's like, no, 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 man, tone it down. We have to be
Mhm.
pacifists. That would be interesting. That would be an update. For me personally, I would want a Rogue movie, or
Mhm.
actually, wait, hold on. No, I want, well, a proper Rogue movie would be really nice because also you got like they say Brie Larson wants out of Captain Marvel anyway, so like just have Brie Larson meet up with Rogue and have Rogue like take hold of her power, and then you have Rogue, but like done well.
There you go.
But me personally, I would love to see um a focus on Storm,
Mm-hmm.
like her life before the X-Men,
Mm-hmm.
because that would be so impressive. You see her from like being viewed as a goddess from Africa, being made into a thief, being found by Xavier, and then like kind of like slowly coming to his side and being his like essentially Omega level of person. But I also wouldn't mind seeing, um, to go classic, I wouldn't mind seeing a Iceman movie,
Hmm.
because Iceman has been someone who is essentially one of the most powerful people the X-Men have, but he is an individual who's an underachiever. Like he is almost impossibly unable to reach his potential. And that would
Interesting.
be it would be kind of nice to see people like Bobby being those who everyone says you have so much potential, you have so much potential, but he's like, yeah, but I'm happy being who I am. Or another way you could be like, he's a guy who everyone, it doesn't say how much potential he has, and so therefore he doesn't act on it, and everyone's like, dude, you're wasting it, and he's like, wasting what did I do?
Mm. Yeah, my only thing is like I feel like some X-Men characters have more like a stronger appeal than others. I could definitely see a Storm movie or a TV show working. Um
Your
it's
pitch on
just like
Cyclops sounds really good though.
I mean it's not much of a pitch. I just I just want the redemption for the dude. But yeah, like cuz but again, those are some of the heavy hitters minus X-Men or minus Iceman, excuse me. But like what if it's like and I'm gonna use an analogy here, like a Destiny's Child or an NSYNC type of thing, where it's like some members can break off and do their own solo thing, but like when the other members go and try to do like a solo album, it's just like, nah, we ain't fucking with that. Like, bring back, bring back, bye bye bye, bro, or it's bye 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 to your solo career because we don't want to see that shit, Joey.
Oh, it's poor Joey.
Yeah.
So basically, you're saying like start with the X-Men as a group and then start doing individuals after that?
Well, okay, so
That's interesting.
you have more of a recollection of the animated show than I do. How did they initially start the series? Were like they like because I
That
know they
was with
had their core, and then
Jubilee.
some of them it was Jubilee.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Jubilee was like the introductory, and then they killed Morph, which was like I think like the second or third episode, which
Mm-hmm.
Clyde was saying like they could have chosen him as a character.
Mm.
Um, but like yeah, so then but then like Jubilee started to become part of the group, and then they started doing like group stuff, fighting off against like all the like the and also fighting against Magneto and fighting against the humans and like all that sort of stuff. And then they started doing individual storylines.
Got you. Um. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like I almost feel like it's a bit risky to individualize each character as a movie. Like I'm almost like leaning towards it being like a TV series and then building up to a movie, kind of like what
Okay.
they're doing with the Mandalorian, but just in a better way.
Okay, interesting. I would kind of I d- excuse me. I know you were just like using it as an analogy, but now that I'm thinking about what you said about like starting off like with a group and like doing a a Child sort of thing, it would be interesting if they went group first and then started doing individual after.
Yeah. 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 Like, okay, put it this way. What if it's because like this seems to be what Matt Reeves is doing, where it's like you have the Batman, and then now he's trying to do the Penguin, which we already established in the Batman. And
Right.
then at a point in time, they were trying to do the Gotham PD. I don't know if that's even a thing anymore, but
I haven't heard anything about that.
yeah, but the Penguin actually is it's like in production, or if
That's
not,
true.
right? So I mean, they could go that route, like just like as you suggested, where it's like you start them off as you start the movie off with them all together, and then you have individual storylines, or for the members that have not yet joined or are not yet established in the movie, you do a TV series on those characters. So let's say you have the core
Interesting.
X-Men movie character, X-Men characters in the movie, and then let's say Gambit is like a member that joins later, but you do a TV series for Gambit, like a 6-episode TV series or something like that, and then at the end of
Yeah,
the episode, he gets introduced into the following movies.
that would be interesting. Almost like creating their own cinematic universe. Actually, not even cinematic universe, just creating their own universe.
Yeah.
Kind of the way Star Wars is almost like
Yes.
movies and TV, and all loosely connected, but then can be brought together.
Right. Exactly. For like a big threat. So like
Right.
this in itself is its own kind of, like, the movies will build to a big threat, like
Yeah.
on a lower tier level in comparison to Thanos, but as a way of introducing them to the MCU.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you remember the card. Oh, okay, so in the comics, the X-Men started off with the original five, and then they started,
Mhm.
and then like the original five got taken over, and then like got kidnapped, and then like Xavier had to bring in a whole bunch of other people, which became like the more modernized version. And then you had like this a big group of mutants that he split between the gold team and the blue team.
Mhm.
I mean, there's no reason why you can't have the first movie being one team, and then the movie is like the movies are slowly like adding in more people based off
Mhm.
them finding their way to the X-Men, which would be like it's almost like something people hear about the X-Men, but almost like Batman, like he's an urban legend sort of thing.
Mm.
And then
Yeah,
like leading towards that respect where it's like they're being guided, but also there are other people trying to get them to join the Brotherhood as well.
very true. Very true. I could see that. I could get behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like nonetheless, I'm surprised that I still can't believe you went with Cyclops first. But like Gambit, I kind of expected you to say Gambit first, but like, okay, okay, you
I
impressed me.
mean, I always thought Gambit was just like cool as shit back in the day. So I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to see a Gambit movie done right.
Yeah, he definitely was like given the short end of the stick with the whole X-Men universe.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna volley it back to you for our closing statements.
All right, cool, cool, cool. Well, this has been another edition of the Geeky Bros podcast. We want to thank you guys once again for tuning in live, or if you choose to watch or listen to us at a later time, we also want to thank you and appreciate it. As always, tell your friends about us, and we will see you guys next week. I'm your boy Tactics.
And this is Big Geek Umar. Please like, favorite, and subscribe, and live long and prosper, y'all.
Damn.